guys, Bowie here, and this is Things I Learned with Funkefal's Tinker in 710. If you've never heard of Funkefal, he is a top 30 EU player that streams pretty often. This is his stream link. Check it out, he's an awesome guy. And let's start. He gets a pretty decent block, so decent that he lets the creeps go when he sees that a lone melee creep is coming, and the lane already starts with Tinker's copyrighted way of winning it. Laser, so that you can secure CS or denies. The thing about this play, when the enemy just sends one melee creep, is that usually what happens when you have the block advantage is that the enemy mid will pull, but he will have 3 creeps hitting his range creep, and you will have 2, since you just got a CS allowing you, theoretically, to get the range creep and then deny yours, since the enemy hero doesn't want to dive that deep with 3 melee creeps chasing him. Look how he keeps milking the harass and how Tinker has a huge advantage in lane right off the bat. As soon as his melee creep starts getting tower damage, but more importantly, Laser is back, he gets the deny, and while the CS count is even, he definitely harassed Gyro way more. Since Gyro was busy in dragging that creep far away so that Tinker doesn't laser him or get a deny, look how he starts attacking this creep instantly so that he gets that CS. Gyro has one of the fastest attack animations in the game, so by doing it like this, he can secure a CS without resorting to laser. Since Gyro still has to deal with the tower attacking creeps, he drags aggro here and secures another CS with laser, while in theory denying 2 CS from Gyro. In that regard, Gyro has a good time against Tinker since he can rocket barrage, getting the 2 CS. Very few heroes would be able to deal with laser that well. This footage showcases again why Tinker can reliably win lanes unless he gets heavily ganked. Notice that Funkefal has 2 range creeps, which means that it takes longer for his one to die, and usually this would mean that Gyro would get the deny, but with the range and spam ability of laser, he secures a range creep CS while having on his arsenal stuff like March that makes Gyro very afraid to get too deep to secure the CS. He's also dealing with a creep wave while Tinker is just chilling in the high ground, ultimately guaranteeing him 2 range creep denies. Room dominance, and pay attention how he uses this. The lane is now pushing, and he is against the lane presence of Nature's Prophet, Io, and Gyro is great to secure kills with any support duo. So instead of trying to play aggressively on Gyro, he uses that double damage to get every single deny in the wave, ultimately putting him in a great spot again since it starts to deep push. One thing that we see very often is Tinker players that rush so ring into travels directly just because of how much they value that timing. Funkefal does the opposite in pretty much every single game I've watched from him, and his idea is that since you can rearm TP scrolls, a lot of the times you're better off using bottle too. TP scrolls are super cheap, and bottle allows you to farm super fast and have mana to get kills as well. Since he's winning the lane and Gyro doesn't have that much push early on, he knows he can shove the wave on Gyro while picking up the runes. Pay attention how he bottles while backpacking his new talisman, and also how important it is to measure things. I can see a lot of low MMR players that even if they were holding points here, would skill missile to get the kill. It's clear that Funkefal would have the kill, yet he holds onto it and only gets a 3rd point in laser. First of all, the farming capabilities and also pushing capabilities of March are unparalleled, and in a game with so many global heroes and chase potential, it is very risky to go full retard on missile, even though it might get you 1 or 2 kills. The nerves on experience and gold that you get from kills just makes it very rare to see Tinkers getting points there. He pops his arcane rune before lasering Gyro, and taking him out of the lane at this stage is almost the same value than killing him. The gold he would get from that is not worth at all how much his power spikes would get hindered, and you will see that perfectly pretty soon. The way Funkefal uses the map is probably the most efficient I ever saw in my life if we're talking Tinker. As a rule of thumb, you usually want to jungle with at least level 3 March, and since he has 3 points in laser, he needs to wait level 7 to start jungling. It's also worthwhile to talk about him staying mid during catapult wave. It is never worth farming jungle at the expense of your structures, so make sure to eliminate a catapult if you jungle for extended periods of time, which is what will happen soon. He focuses on the cardi, gets level 7, marches mid, and all of that culminates on him being low HP and mana. So you will go Shrine or Fountain, right? No, you fool! 350 mana is like 1000 mana for a Tinker as good as Funkefal. Just watch God's work. He gets a stack, drops his new talisman before Soul Ring, increasing the efficiency of his farm, and you always see him doing that in this spot, because by standing here, you can farm those 2 camps without actually taking any damage. He queues the new talisman drop to keep increasing Tinker's mana to the limit. Notice that he had 250 mana when he left the lane, and he used 840 mana while also having 73 in the tank after all is done. And now you shrine, right? No, you fool, you have infinite TPs, even without travels. What he does is TP back to base and TP to the other shrine so that he can now farm those 2 camps while making use of the fact that he can probably kill them before the next respawn timer. Notice how he draws aggro with the attacks, since in this area there is no spot where you can march and draw aggro from both camps with just 1 march. And here, he doesn't drop the no talisman because this is a place to take damage to farm those camps, and also it's way riskier since you're in a low ground without vision and stuff. He attacks the creeps here to also stack the camp, grabs a bounty, and that's one of the benefits of having bottle, the extra regen and the gold from the runes. Notice that he doesn't rearm here because it's incredibly mana inefficient since there's only 1 large crypt left, and he also doesn't shrine. He's relatively healthy and has free TPs after all. He makes sure to bottle while backpacking the null, while also getting that other area of the map in perfect time for another stack. So basically, Funkefal farmed 4 large camps and 2 medium camps in 1 minute, without resorting to shrines and without hindering his mid tower since he took that catapult. This time he goes even further and marches in this spot with this angle to get a double stack instead of only 1. Worth noting that he drops his new talisman here before using Soul Ring, and there you go. He gets back in that cliff we talked about, farms that, and he only pops the shrine here because he wants to be healthy enough to venture himself in the right area of the map to get those camps, double runes, and finish travel straight away. A lot of the times people consider 10-minute Soul Ring and travels a good timing for Tinker, but Funkefal actually gets bottle on top of it, showcasing how much he stretches the limits of this hero in the early game. I did mention that losing tower is bad, but in this game, he is definitely afraid of the level 6 gyro plus NP rotation, and he sacrifices some towers because of it. Since he utilized his jungle so well though, he's able to make up for it afterwards. There you go, travels in 10 minutes. Notice how after getting the travels, he never shows up to farm jungle camps unless he can defend a lane at the same time. The price he paid for such an early item, while also not dying, was Dire getting a lot of map control, and his job as a Tinker right now is addressing those lanes. He marches mid and goes straight bottom since he has a shit ton of mana still, and double marches that wave. One thing I want to point out is him getting out at level 12 and 18. Back in the day, you would spend a lot of gold on Dagon or some expensive item like Side of Ice straight away, and obviously, you would have mana problems. The standard build nowadays is Aetherlands, which gives quite a lot of mana for very little gold, into Eggs, a lot of mana as well. Another interesting thing to note on how Funkefal defends lanes is how he identifies the pushing power of every lane before the creeps are knocking on the towers. Against that much mobility, if you TP without Blink Dagger into a tower where the enemy has vision because of the creeps, you're most likely dead. But he's ready with double marches mid before the creeps are there, and at this stage, no one will have a pipe or a way to deal with Tinker. He gets his Blink Dagger as his Treant is setting up on gyro, and pay attention on the spots he jumps to. He utilizes trees to their utmost potential so that he can follow up on risky situations without being seen. First, he addresses the creep wave that has yet to get there by marching, and then he engages but blinking very close to his tower and the area he marched. So it's very unlikely that Dire will dive even after using False Promise. Even though his team loses the fight bottom by using that spot, he can reliably march the next wave of creeps, hindering his Dire advance to get more map control even though they're winning fights. As he defends bottom, we see the same play. He's already double marching a lane in a way that the 2 subsequent creep waves will fall, and now he has time to address the crazy Nature's Prophet forcing bottom. Note where he TPs to, very safe area, and he even blinks to an even safer one. He makes sure to march and missile, creating an impenetrable area around that location in case Dire thinks they can dive him. And that's exactly what happens. Dire loses 3 heroes since they decided to fight under the march trap of Funkefal. It's also worth noting that he never just marches a catapult wave. He makes sure to take it down so there's never too much pressure on his side and to get the last hit. They give a lot of juicy and moist experience and gold. In this case, since he waited, he can take another creep wave with no effort, and now while Dire fights bottom, he's pressuring top. When he goes bottom, look again how he uses vision. That tree makes him safe and he blinks even further, but in a spot he can march the upcoming wave and missile safely. Remember that time he spent top? It pays off. Nature's Prophet has to TP low in HP to defend that, and he gets another one. Note that he has Aetherlands now, so even though his Treant dies, he tries to re-engage and he can do that easily. Just want to remind you guys again that he did not farm any jungle camps up to this point, and the reason for this is that there were 3 tier 1s up the entire time. He really wants and needs to relieve map pressure, and that's what he did during all this time. To expand a little bit more into the way Funkefal addresses lanes, pay attention to this clip. What you usually expect out of your standard Tinker is him TP into a lane, ideally shift queuing out to a tree spot and then using March there. Against top tier players that know all the good tree areas, this can be very risky, especially in a game like this where Dire has so much global shit and vision skills. What he does most of the time is TPing to a tower and marching in a way that he gets a creep wave before it finds an enemy creep wave, or his creep wave in this sense, and while he TPs out, he gets most of the experience from that wave. That's especially important for the mid lane that has a lot of angles of initiation. It's very important to have a mental visualization of creep waves. The mid lane is shorter, so the creeps meet at around 20 and 40 seconds, while in the side lanes, the creeps meet slightly ahead of the tier 1s at 28 and 58 seconds. By marching where Funkefal is at 21-22, you can easily snipe that creep wave. This is a beautiful fight from Funkefal, where we see the same concept of using March and forcing the enemy team on you. Before you have eggs, March of the Machines and Missile are way more efficient in damage per mana spent, so notice how he never commits the spell at all. He keeps repeating the same combo of Missile and March while trying to create a perimeter where it's risky for Dire to fight. He even pops the Shrine, and while this blink looks pretty risky, the tree and out holds the green panda, allowing Tinker to just TP out, ultimately giving them a sure win. This is again Funkefal proactively dealing with a catapult wave and using laser instead of only March, and that gives that creep wave a lot of momentum. But right after that, we see a fight brewing up. He blinks in fog, but just enough to cast the Axe laser instantly. That forces the enemy BKB, and now he missiles. Lasers and blinks away since the fight is growing towards him. He makes sure to march the wave before going back to base, and that might seem small, but this is one of the main reasons for every single one of their tier 2s to still be up. When you're level 18, you start to become insanely slippery, especially if you have Aetherlands and the cast range down. So pay attention how Funkefal can now start to adventure deeper and deeper into enemy lines. He uses this nice tree spot, and it's worth knowing how he starts avoiding the areas close to Tinker wards. So instead of using the standard places you would see, he's able to get to the next creep wave arguably safer, while also farming the Dire jungle. Addressing creep waves preemptively not only is safer a lot of the times, but it creates opportunities around the map. Since the push is so strong, someone has to address it fast. Since the rest of the map is not safe and he pushed top like crazy, he has a chance to farm jungle, and this is one of the few times this game where he jungled without also pushing waves at the same time. And yeah guys, this is it for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you guys noted that the Things I Learned series is back in full force, but there will be other videos. Actually, there's going to be a poll here so that you can select which video is going to show up tomorrow. So make sure to vote, make sure to like this video if you actually enjoyed it. Remember that Pvgna sponsored this channel and they have a huge library that in my opinion is way better than Dota Plus, and it can actually help you increase your knowledge instead of just blindly following an AI. With that said, I just wanna thank everyone. Follow Funkefal on his Twitch channel. I mean, if you want, follow me on Twitter and on Twitch as well. My stream is very interactive. You can vote which lane and which heroes I'm playing. I try to explain everything I do, and hopefully you're going to learn a lot there as well. Thanks guys, bye!